Hi guys, I'm Yasmin Nixaz. You might recognise me from Plan with Yaz. Today I'm going to be cooking up my favourite components to make a Christmas roast. So stay with me and you'll see a bit of that. Right, so I've gone with the chicken today. Chicken's higher in protein and just my personal favourite really. We got for corn fed and you know, you pay a few more pounds and you just get that quality. So yeah, you can use turkey, you can use beef, lamb, whatever you want to use. Actually, goose is the original, what you're meant to use for a Christmas roast, but you can do whatever you want. I've got the cranberry as well. Usually that goes better with turkey, but I just wanted to show you my cranberry recipe because I just absolutely love it. And I have put a slight health twist on that too. And then also we've got the red cabbage. Gonna do some honey glazed carrots and parsnips. And the celery is going to go with the chicken with some lemon, onions, all roasted lovely in the oven. We're going to do Brussels sprouts and we're going to do that with turkey bacon. So the reason I'm using turkey bacon, it's got less saturated fat than a normal bacon. We're also going to do some pigs in blankets, but it's going to actually be turkey in blankets. So we've got turkey sausages and turkey bacon and we're wrapping them up lovely. And put in the oven. Again, it's just fewer calories and just amazing to go with the roast. Right, so we're going to start by peeling the carrots. This is for the prep for the chicken. We're going to put some celery chopped up in there, some onions and lemon as well because it just gives it that amazing flavour. And then we're also going to glaze it with butter, olive oil and some salt and pepper. We're actually going to go a little bit less on the oil than we would usually, but it still makes it really crispy, I promise you. Right, so if you peel the carrots and then chop them up and put them in there, always works out really delicious. Make sure you get your onions. I'm actually using red and white just because I love the colour and the flavour all added in together. You want to chop the tip of the carrot off. Get rid of that and then chop up your carrots. Don't be too picky about this part. It can literally just be to throw in. Definitely eat them after when they're roasted, but just don't be too particular about it. Just chuck them in, literally throw them in. Same goes with the other carrot and also your celery. So you want to chop off any of those sort of brown ends that we don't really like, them bits. Get rid of them. Love that crunch noise. We're just gonna get rid of them. Pop them in the roasting tray. That'll also bring a lot of moisture to the pan as well, so that's absolutely great. Get that other carrot in there. Preheat the oven to 200, so make sure you don't forget to preheat because that'll set you back a few minutes that you could be eating. Same again, we're going to just roughly chop the onion. Again, literally just don't be too particular. Just go little bits at a time. Whatever type of chunks you want. I normally go for quarters. I just love that purple colour. Gorge. Right, so we'll get rid of those outer pieces. We don't want them. And literally chop it up. Again, just chuck it in there. When they're roasted as well, they end up going caramelised and crispy and they just taste amazing. Right, so we're using half a lemon and we're going to stuff that in the chicken along with some herbs. I personally love fresh herbs. That is my go-to. I'm not a fan of dry ones. If you use them, that's fine. It's not absolutely criminal, but definitely fresh herbs for me wins it every time. I'm going for rosemary and thyme. So a lovely, lovely bunch of rosemary and thyme. I'm going to actually stick some of that in there with the lemon and dot the rest of it sort of around the chicken. I'm going to use a lot less butter. We're still going to put it in there for a bit more crisp, but we are going to go with a little bit more olive oil for a more sort of healthier take on it. So I'm going to pop a teaspoon of butter in there and I usually just microwave that. Just pop it in the microwave for 30 seconds, maybe even a bit less. And then I also add my salt and pepper and everything else in here. I use pink salt too as it's more organic and healthier. But just for now, I'm literally just stirring it up and it's going into a glazed form so that I can just glaze it onto the chicken. So just grab it bit by bit and glaze it just like that onto the chicken. Really make sure you get all of it in there. Don't waste any of that lovely glaze. And if you want, even just pour it over. If it goes on the veg, it's a winner anyway. So that's fab. The one thing that we've not put in there yet that will absolutely change the game here is garlic. So make sure you get as many garlic cloves as you want. I'm going to go for 4, and literally don't even bother peeling them, nothing, chuck them in. It's the easiest thing and it works wonders, trust me. So that's your chicken glazed and marinated, ready to go in the oven. It looks and smells amazing, so let's get that in there. Just gonna pop it in the oven that's already on 200 degrees. Whack it in and just have a quick sweep up before we get onto the veg. Right, so I'm using Maris Piper potatoes. I'm going to be parboiling them. This just helps them get really fluffy when we fluff them up, and it helps them get really crispy on the outside and fluffy in the middle, which is exactly what we want. So we're just going to start by peeling them all. This should actually serve anything between 3 to 4 people or 2 to 3 really hungry people. So I could personally eat the whole batch myself just because they're so delicious. We're going to be doing a slightly less oily, less fatty version, but they still turn out just as crispy. It's more the process of how you cook it that really gets that crispiness. So don't go throwing loads of goose fat and butter and oil and, you know, everything you read on Google to get them really crispy. You can actually still do it and still, you know, stay reasonably healthy with it, or just cut down a little bit. Think about it, on Christmas Day, you're going to be drinking loads, you're going to be eating loads. You want to indulge and overindulge as well. So wherever you can, I guess you're just cutting out any extra little bits of calories and fats and things that aren't as good for you. Alcohol, just empty calories, so we all know that. So join me after peeling these potatoes. We're going to jump straight into parboiling them and then pop them in the oven. Right, so we're just going to slice up the potatoes, similar sized chunks, and ready to be parboiled. So parboiling is basically sort of pre-cooking it. We're only going to do this for 10 minutes, and it's just to basically make them fluffy and crispier on the outside, which is exactly what we want. So once you've cut up all of your potatoes, if your pan is already boiling, if the water's already going, you only need 8 minutes for this. Otherwise, 10 minutes is also fine. So we're just going to pop this into the pan and just try not to get any of that backsplash on you. And we're going to just time that for 8 minutes because my water's already boiling. Set that aside and have a little clear up. Perfect. So now we're just going to make the seasoning marinade. So we're going to do that in a normal size pan. It can be a little bit smaller if you like because it's only for the marinade. So we're going to pop that on heat, and then we are going to get our 2 tablespoons of olive oil straight into the pan. We're going to go in there with a teaspoon of butter. You can do a little bit more if you like. I'm just trying to cut calories a little bit where I can, but it's completely up to you what you do. So butter's in, oil's in, rosemary. I'm going to get some thyme in there. Don't worry about it being, you know, in chunks or anything like that because we're actually going to sieve this out later on. So we're actually going to put some garlic in there too. I'm going to use my favourite kitchen item. This is actually my favourite. You've probably seen it before. If you've not, it's amazing. Pop your garlic in there. And just like that, into the pan. I'm going to use 2 because I love garlic. So you can use whatever you want. I'd recommend 2. And as easy as that. Then you're going to get a spatula, give it a quick stir, just make sure it doesn't burn. And you want to put that on a fairly low heat because you just want that flavour. It smells amazing in here. not gonna lie. Right, so let's pop that on a lower heat and give it a quick tizzle so that can stay on. It's the potatoes that are gonna come out in a few minutes and go into the oven. Right, so the trick here is a pinch of fresh salt and pepper, and that will really get the taste going. Right, so fluff that up once you've got your fresh salt and pepper in there. Again, if you are using dry herbs, you can put some in there now. I personally wouldn't advise it because you don't want them to burn, but you can sort of do whatever you want with this now. So all these fluffy bits here, they're all going to go into crispy, nice, lovely crispy bits. So once they're fluffed up, we're going to put them into a roasting tray and put them in the oven. Right, so they are all fluffed up and ready to go in the roasting tray. I've pre-foiled mine, just like so. So you're just going to pop them on. Before you do so, get a bit of your Fry Light 1 calorie spray I use, then I know exactly what I'm on. You can use, oh my God. So you can use any type of oil you like. I'm just going to go in there with the Fry Light, just because it's my personal favourite. I'm going to pop the roasties on the tray and spread them out nicely. So another trick here is to space them out well. That just allows them to breathe and really get that crispiness in them. So once they're nice and spaced out, I'm going to grab oven gloves and pop them in the oven. Oh, that chicken smells amazing. So we're going to move on to the cabbage next. We're going to have sticky shredded cabbage with honey, mustard, and a little bit of oil and some ginger. You're just going to need about 1 centimetre of your ginger. So if you just cut down that, all you need to do is cut the sides off. And then chop it up into little bits. Get rid of that. So dice your ginger into little bits. You can grate it, chop it up into tiny little bits. Do whatever you want with it, really. It's only going to go in the pan. Once we've done that, we're going to add the oil into the pan. So that's 2 tablespoons. You can use a little bit less, a little bit more, whatever you fancy. And then we're going to add the ginger in. Just going to turn that down a tiny bit. Perfect. Now we're going to cut up the cabbage. I tend to go for thinner pieces. So we're just going to roughly chop that cabbage up. Throw it into the saucepan. Love that sound. Perfect. I'm going to then turn the heat up a slight bit. So just get it in. Don't worry about it being the same size or not. It's not so much perfection with this one. Just getting it in there, and you will have purple hands like me. So instead of using sugar, we're going to use honey. This is Steen's honey. It's absolutely my favourite. They sell them in supermarkets, and yeah, it's just brilliant organic honey. It's amazing. So yeah, we're going to go in. I'm going to just roughly do it because I pretty much know my tablespoons off by heart. But about 3 tablespoons worth. About that amount. Tiny bit more for good luck. So I'm going to stir that in. Turn up the heat a tiny bit, put the lid on and just leave that to simmer in the background. So I've just cleaned up my surface, ready for the next bit. We're going to be doing some parsnips and carrots. Honey and mustard glaze is going to be amazing. Right, we're going to pop carrots and parsnips into a mixing bowl. This is just so that we can toss them about and marinate them. I'm going to go in with, again, 2 tablespoons this time of honey. just to coat them nicely. Again, if you go over or under a tiny bit on that, don't worry too much. We're going to go 3 teaspoons, generous teaspoons of mustard. 3. And then we're just going to go for drizzle of oil. I'm using vegetable oil, you can use sunflower, whatever floats your boat. And then we're actually going to grab the spatula and mix it all in. Don't forget, pinch of salt, pinch of pepper. Give it a good toss. Perfect, and that is ready to go in to your oven dish. If you want them a little bit crispier, I'd recommend putting them on a bigger tray. I quite like to have mine soft on the inside, so I'm gonna go for these. Now that we've got the chicken, parsnips, carrots and roasties in the oven, it's time to focus on the Brussels sprouts. So I've just pre-cut these. You just want to cut that end bit off there and just literally peel the Brussels sprouts, any of those sort of dead or brown parts, you just want to get rid of them. So basically I'm just going to cut them in half. I'm going to quarter the big ones and I'm going to half the small ones. I'm actually using a mixture of large and small Brussels sprouts. I just like that they look different. It just looks nice when you're presenting. So yeah, quarters for the large ones and half for the baby ones. Right, so I'm going to pop my pan on heat. About medium heat. It is boiling already, so I just need to put the sprouts in. I'm going to parboil them for about 10 minutes, and that's the same amount of time that I'm going to put the turkey bacon in the oven. So this is the one I'm using. I'm gonna just pop that on. Don't need any oil. You can use it if you want to, but I'm not going to. So that goes in the oven. While we've got the Brussels sprouts boiling and the turkey bacon in the oven, we are now going to go over to our pigs in blankets. They're actually not pigs in blankets, they are turkeys in blankets. So you can do pigs in blankets if you want, do whatever you like. I'm just going to use 2 slices here. I'm going to get the sausage out. So the turkey sausage and bacon actually is about 30 to 35% less saturated fat than normal sort of pork. So just a little interesting fact for you in case you wanted to cut down a little bit on those calories and fat. And we're going to cut the turkey bacon into strips and then wrap it around. So soaking your toothpicks in water just makes it better so that they don't scorch in the oven. So we're going to take out the turkey bacon because that should be pretty much done now. I've just drained my Brussels sprouts. My turkey bacon is chopped up and ready to go in a dish into the oven. These guys are also ready to go in at the same time. So yeah, let's get on with it. We're going to go ahead with the cranberry sauce. I've got 300 grams here. We're going to need 3 tablespoons of honey and 1 orange just for its zest. So I'm going to grab my orange and my grater. These can go straight onto heat. Once they start to pop, we're going to go in with the honey and the orange zest and just leave that to simmer for about 20 minutes. That's perfect. We don't want any of the pith in there, just the zest, because the pith is bitter and we're going for a sweet tasting cranberry sauce. Should look something like this. We've got honey ready to go and I'm just going to give the cranberries a little stir. So the cranberries are popping nicely. As you can see, they're sort of going from that solid to a more liquid. We're going to go with the Yorkshire puds now. So we've done the zest and the honey. That's ready to go in the cranberry sauce once they've popped a tiny bit more. Meanwhile, we're going to get straight onto the Yorkshire puds, which I have pre-prepped about an hour ago. So I've put it into a jar for now. So here we've got 1 cup of flour, 1 cup of milk and 1 egg. It's as simple as that. I've whisked it together really well and basically left it in the fridge for an hour, which just helps it fluff up when it's cooking. Just lightly spray your tray just to make sure that the puds don't stick or burn. So we're gonna slowly pour these in, about half full. A jug works better. I just thought I'd be really cool and use this instead. I mean, it is cool, but it looks good to me. So these will only take about 5 minutes. I'm gonna pop them to the side, and once everything's ready and we're 5 minutes away, we are gonna pop them in the oven. So cranberries have basically popped. They should look something a little bit like this. We're gonna go in there with the honey, my favorite thing. Make sure that you're cooking it on a low heat so the cranberries don't burn the bottom of the pan. I'm gonna throw that orange zest in there. Get that really gorgeous, vibrant look going on. Perfect, and we're just gonna pop that on a bit of a lower heat now, and that's just gonna simmer. So we're gonna get the chicken out of the oven now. We're gonna use some of its juices for the gravy. We're gonna cover it with some foil to just maintain that moisture and get on with the cabbage and cranberry. Everything else is pretty much done now, guys. So it's all about plating it up and getting all the timing to be spot on. So the chicken is out and it's looking amazing, juicy, and it smells beautiful. So just gonna pop some foil on here. And leave it to rest. So we're gonna get the gravy now, we're gonna put it in a saucepan with some water, and we're gonna add some of the chicken juices onto it. We're gonna put the Yorkshire puddings in, get our final components together, and we are done. We're gonna add the chicken gravy juice in there as well. All you need is half a pint of water with that. Put that in. If you want it a little bit thicker, add a little bit more, which I do. Right, so that's going. We only need it in for about 2 minutes. We're gonna go over and get the gravy juice from the chicken and pour that in there too. And meanwhile, we're just gonna give the surface a little bit of a tidy up. So we're gonna get this lovely oil pan that we made earlier for the roasties with the garlic, thyme and rosemary. We're gonna pop it back on heat just for 2 minutes, and then we're gonna get on to taking the potatoes out and getting them done. So you shouldn't really be opening the oven when you've got the puds in, but that's just life because we don't all have 3 ovens in our house. So it is what it is. They turn out how they turn out. These look insane. They're so crispy and they smell amazing. They're so fluffy. You can already tell that they're fluffy on the inside, and there's so much heat coming off it. I love it. Right. So I'm going to pour that into a mixing bowl. Make sure it's big enough because you're going to be tossing that about. This lovely smelling pan, and sieve it into the potatoes. Toss them about. They look insane. Can't wait. We've got the big thumbs up on that one. Yorkshire puds should be done now as well, so we'll take them out the oven along with everything else. So there we have it, a beautiful, gorgeous Christmas roast. You've got all your components in there. These are all my favourite things. Everything is with a touch of love and a touch of health too. So that's it. That's everything done in just under 2 hours, depending on how long your meat takes to cook. I hope you really enjoyed watching my video. Tune in for more on my channel, and can't wait to hear what you guys want to see me cook next time. Thank you.